This is a necessary event to recognize students who've turned their lives around and got back on track academically. And that's the focal point, is academically. We often praise students who are excellent in sports or who are high achievers initially, but we hardly recognize those who get back on track. So this event means everything to me, because like Dr. Watson mentioned, I'm you guys, and you are me. So when I think back to where I was almost 10 years ago, sitting in the same seats as you all, education didn't matter. Education didn't matter, not because I didn't care about it, but because my environment seemed to not care about it. So I became a product of my environment. I went to Woodrow Wilson High School, and I don't remember anything I did. It was a blur. So I preach education because if not for education, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to go to the White House. And I'm gonna spend a little bit of time on that, but most importantly, I'm gonna talk about the process, because the process is important. This is a celebration for you all. If not for you, I wouldn't be here. And whether you all know it or not, you all have an appetite for success. You all have an appetite for success. And your commitment to turn your life around in this short period of time is the first ingredient. Without commitment, you can never be successful. So you all have it already. But education is very important for some key reasons that I'm about to mention. Education is literally directly connected to your freedom. And I want you to think about that. Over 60% of prisoners in the United States today don't have a high school diploma. In some states, more than 70% of people incarcerated don't have a high school diploma. This specific time in all of you guys' lives is probably the most important time of your life. I left Woodrow Wilson with a 1.1 GPA and 97 unexcused absences and latenesses. Almost 3 months that I was not accounted for in school. I received my diploma. But it wasn't by coincidence that a year and a half later, on January 29th, 2008, after the first black president was elected into office, I was housed at 3 North A in Camden County Jail. And during this time, in one of the darkest moments of my life, a light came on. I figured that this wasn't going to be the life for me, but I didn't have no other avenues. Sports wasn't an option. There's not too many 5'5" cornerbacks. I'm not a good artist. I don't sing, I don't rap. What can I do? So I curated in my mind that maybe I can focus on school. I had mentors and I had friends, most importantly, who took that path and inspired me. And the only reason why I was able to get back into education and excel into education was community, this thing of community. You're never by yourself. You here today is a culmination of you being a part of a vibrant community. Everybody in here is here for the development of you, something that we often overlook when we're young, that I never paid attention to. People wanted what was best for me, and I didn't realize it. So when I began to just take a step back and reevaluate myself, I'm an adult now, 20 years old, a horrible performing student. What can be the next step? I decided to register for Camden County College. And with this new community that I was able to become a part of through mentorship, friendship, a positive community, I began to tap into this intellectual ability. Long before I walked the halls of the White House, that journey started right here in Camden County College. I couldn't vision that. I wasn't thinking that far. I was focusing on committing to the moment, committing to right now. And there's a quote by Mahatma Gandhi that I want all of you to look up. And if you don't know who he is, he's arguably one of the most powerful men in the world and inspired Dr. Martin Luther King. He said, live as if you'll die tomorrow, but learn as if you'll live forever. And I didn't understand what he meant by that, because oftentimes in our community, we do live as if we'll die tomorrow, not investing in our future. YOLO, right? You only live once, and doing whatever we think we want to do in that moment, without any thought about where these actions are going to lead us. All throughout high school, I just walked through the hallways and wasted time. And ultimately, it led me to where I didn't want to be. So I get to Camden County College, and now I'm fully locked in. I'm inspired. I'm focused. And I started to build a bigger community of people who wanted what was best for me. Because none of us is in this walk alone. I had the opportunity to go to the University of Pennsylvania, one of the 8 Ivy League universities, and again, I wasn't alone. Every step of the way, I knew I had my community with me. I knew that it was other people who was going through the same things I went through, who needed to be inspired by my life, and that I needed to be connected to so I can be inspired. My whole purpose here today is you. I get inspiration by looking at you to understand that there's a greater story in this crowd than the one that I have. That there's people that are more intellectual, more creative than I could ever be. It would be ignorance and arrogance for me to believe that my special ability led me to the University of Pennsylvania or led me to the White House. It was simple. It was commitment. It was commitment. Commitment and sacrifice. What are you willing to give up to gain something that you never had? What are you willing to sacrifice? I know what it was for me. I had to sacrifice leisure time. I had to sacrifice going to parties. I had to sacrifice hanging with certain people that wasn't productive, that wasn't adding to the positive path that I was trying to embark on. Freedom. Freedom. So for me, education gave me physical freedom. But most importantly, education gave me mental freedom, the freedom of thought. Long before I made it to 3 North A in Camden County Jail, mentally I was incarcerated. And that's something that you always need to think about. What are you thinking? Why are you thinking the way you think about yourself? What do you think about yourself, and where do you think you can go in life? The doors of opportunity are open for all of us if we just open our eyes and see them. They exist right now in this room, not just for you, but for me. And I'm an adult. There's always someone trying to keep the ladder there for you to climb up, but you have to be committed to that. Your decisions are going to determine your destiny in life, regardless of how hard your life is. I'm quite sure that all of you have some traumatic experiences that you've endured. I'm sure of it. I'm not unmindful of that. I myself had traumatic experiences. The folks that mentored me and I looked up to had traumatic experiences. But there was something that kept them going and thriving, and they made it through. And I knew I could do it too. Traumatic experiences, and I'll name a few to be more clear to you all. Murder, rape, domestic violence, mass incarceration. I'm quite sure all of you have a friend who's been through each and one of those things, if not you yourself. But you have to get to a point where you got to transform trauma into triumph, right? Because we all make mistakes, we all go through things. And you may be the one inflicting this trauma on someone, but that don't define who you are at all. But you have to turn that trauma into triumph. Make your losses in life stepping stones towards your legacy that other people are going to be able to benefit from. And that's what I intend to do. Everything I did, each step I made, was the thought of a legacy in my mind, and how I can leave something back that other people can benefit from, such as you. Somebody that looked like you, talked like you, walked the same streets as you, ate from the same corner stores as you. That was my motivation. It was less about me and more about how can I inspire other people to do things that I thought I couldn't do. Legacy. Because you're gonna lose. And I'd be naive to tell you all that difficulty and traumatic experiences are not gonna be in your future and that you're not gonna have losses in life. But that's not the end all be all. No matter how anyone makes you feel, no matter how anyone makes you think of yourself, you're not the sum of all the losses and mistakes you make in your life. They're actually placed there to help you become a better person when you take a step back and look at it all. So if you think about what I mentioned in the beginning, the date that I was arrested, January 29, 2008, right? Barack Obama became president January 20th, 2008. So you have a kid, uneducated, no direction, no hope, and mentally incarcerated, to one day be working in a historic administration. Not because he was great, not because I was this special guy and I didn't have no network or connections. It was because I was committed to doing good. Take them positive steps towards the right thing. Positivity has never gave anyone negative returns. Invest in yourself, grow, learn, and be vulnerable. Vulnerability is something that we all have problems dealing with, including myself. I never wanted to tell anyone if I was struggling or if I was insecure. It's a human nature. It's natural. But naturally, you're a winner, though. And think about that. Naturally, you're a winner. People look at Camden and you think that nobody comes out of here. There's professional athletes in this room. There's world-renowned scholars in this room. There's artists in this room. There's musicians who have touched every continent of this earth, right in this room. You have to choose if you're going to allow your environment to shape your life, or are you going to shape your environment? So that's what I want to leave you all with here today. Remember that. Your trauma, transform that into triumph. Transform that into your greatest victory. Your mother might be incarcerated. Your father might be incarcerated. You might come from a family of addiction. Turn that trauma into your triumph and show people just how great you can be in the midst of all of this traumatic chaos that's going on around you. And when you lose, because it will happen, I lost at every step of the way. The stepping stones toward that legacy, y'all. Everything you do is not about you. You're taking your whole community with you. Camden is going to be with you everywhere you go. You can't ignore it. And don't be ashamed of that. And I'll honestly and transparently let you all know that that was something I struggled with. Not being comfortable letting people know I was from Camden. Thinking that people would classify me or put me in a box. And people probably did. But I realized that if I wasn't open about where I came from and what I was connected to, then I never could be the best Rashan Prailow. I would always be living in this fake facade and masking myself to be somebody I wasn't. That was the greatest thing for me. When I got to the White House, it was embarrassing to me. When I'm like, man, I'm the only one with this story. I'm from the hood. I went to jail. Man, like, is anybody gonna think I'm a crazy, I'm a criminal, I'm a crook? And I had to realize that that wasn't who I was. So I'm not only preaching these things to you in a way to make you seem like you're not gonna have trouble overcoming these things, but I want you to know that it's something that you can't ignore. You can't run from it, you can't hide from it. Accept it. And the more I accepted my past and who I was, the more the world opened up to me, the more people became attracted to the man, Rashan Prailow, not the guy who I wanted people to think I was. So believe in yourselves. Believe in yourself. You know, a journey of 1,000,000 steps start with one. So this is a celebration. It might not mean like much to you, but this is the focal point of your life right now. This celebration is going to be the stepping stone to the rest of the celebrations. Learn to enjoy the small victories in order for you to get to the big ones. So thank y'all for having me for a second year. I'm very excited to be here. And always remember, education is the passport to the future. Those that plan for the future today will own tomorrow. So remember that. Keep that in your mind. Commit. Live every day as if you'll die tomorrow. Be your best self today. Add 150% to everything you commit to. And learn as if you'll live forever. So thank y'all. Thank you for having me.